Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member Meeks. I rise in opposition to this committee report seeking to hold Secretary Blinken in contempt. What a sad waste of time at such a serious and dangerous moment around the world. This is simply another attempt by the majority to wield the power of this committee to score cheap political points. This action is nothing more than an extension of their highly partisan, cherry-picked report on the Afghanistan withdrawal. As soon as you hit any real substance in the majority's report on the withdrawal, just beyond the table of contents and the list of key people and the grainy pictures that flower this report, you'll find its first fundamental flaw. And again, I'm talking about the majority's Afghanistan withdrawal report. On page 8, let me show it to you, right here. On page 8, this report presents the finding of the committee's majority investigation into the Biden-Harris administration withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. The U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan is understood to encompass, note the limitations here, the U.S. military retrograde beginning with go-to-zero order officially announced by President Biden on April 14th, 2021 through the non-combatant evacuation operation ordered by President Biden August 15, 2021. The Afghan withdrawal studied in a prism of 4 months. No way did they want to go back and look at what Mr. Trump might have done to set this in motion. They didn't want to examine that. It's obvious the majority's report was developed from a predetermined political conclusion in this political season, one which shields the action of the Trump administration from criticism and places all blame on the Biden administration. With the hearing at issue, this is the pièce de résistance. I want to read to you what John Bolton and H.R. McMaster, two former Trump national security advisors known for their hawkish views, lambasting both Trump and Biden for the withdrawal, though they've been very critical of the Taliban agreement. This is McMaster. Our Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, signed a surrender agreement with the Taliban. McMaster said it was a surrender agreement by the Trump administration. Nowhere do we really see much of anything about what Mr. Trump did. If you take a look at the total report, the report includes only half a page of an executive summary and about 8 pages of background out of a total of 345 pages of this report directly focus on the Trump administration. 8 pages of the whole report. On page 41, the first step toward a phased withdrawal resulted in the reduction of U.S. forces to 8,600. That drawdown was completed by the summer of 2020. 2020, election year, shows the withdrawal actually started under the Trump administration. And this, the most puzzling of facts, not really examined at all by this committee because they don't want to look at what Mr. Trump did. Additionally, in July of 2020, President Trump pursued another phased drawdown, reducing troops to 4,500. And then in January, just before Mr. Biden was sworn into office, they reduced by another 2,500 troops. Nobody wants to examine that on the other side of the aisle? You don't want to see what weakness that created, what opportunity that created for the Taliban? By way of Secretary Blinken, he's come before this congressional committee to provide testimony on numerous occasions, including multiple times before this very committee. And the State Department has provided 20,000 pages of documents at his direction. Despite the continued attacks by the majority, the Secretary remains willing to come to this committee, as he wrote in a letter just yesterday, second letter. I think it has been entered into the record. We have consulted with the Department of Justice, and it has concluded the committee may not constitutionally compel the Secretary appear on September 24th, as so doing would prevent the Secretary from fulfilling the President's directive to represent the United States at the UN. We don't even have the constitutional authority to do this. I submit that for the record. So finally, I think no matter what we're saying here, this rush to subpoena and then this rush to this resolution condemning the secretary, where were we when Mr. McCarthy and 4 other GOP leaders were issued subpoenas by the January 6th committee? It was Mr. McCarthy, Mr. Jordan, Scott Perry of this very committee, Andy Biggs, Mo Brooks. Where was our outrage then when they failed to appear for their subpoenas? This is a political stunt. It is dangerous, it is sad, it is nakedly an attempt at politics. And I yield back.
I'd like to state our general counsel stated that the DOJ does not decide what is constitutional, the judicial branch does. I would argue as an attorney, we have Article I constitutional authority to conduct these hearings, to compel witnesses, including the Secretary of State. He cannot hide behind his title. Chair now recognizes